In this video, I'd like to offer you some first aid tips if you're experiencing the sensation of derealization and depersonalization or panic attacks. What's important is that in most of the cases, people who are experiencing these sensations of derealization or depersonalization are not suffering from a serious disorder. Nevertheless, it is always important to consult a specialist. Usually, this feeling is not a psychotic experience, meaning that people are not able to assess that they are derealizing anymore. And usually, it's also not the case that people suffer from so-called associative DRDP, as these symptoms must show and manifest over a very long period of time. Most commonly, your sensation of derealization or depersonalization is the consequence of a panic disorder or represent the pattern of the so-called larvaized panic disorder. These feelings may arise because of stress hormones being released into your bloodstream or from hyperventilation. And this is tip number one: get yourself moving. Usually, the feeling of derealization happens because your body glands releases stress hormones, or has also stated before, as an aftermath of hyperventilation. The important thing is that your body is being put into stress response and our original fight or flight principle kicks in. That means that your body is flooded with stress hormones in order to get you moving. Your heart rate and breathing accelerate so your body can be supplied with as much oxygen as possible. If you now try to relax and breathe it away calmly, you might be successful, but it's usually much better to get yourself moving, because this is the option your body is offering to you in that moment. And more importantly, these stress hormones are broken down and metabolized in a shorter period of time when you are exercising. So get moving and try to mobilize as many muscles as possible, and your problems and symptoms might decrease a little immediately. Tip number two adds to this: chew gum. From an evolutionary point of view, we can argue that in a life-threatening situation, we must do everything possible to get out of the dangerous situation. And eating would definitely not help with that. So if you chew gum, you feign safety and security to your mind, and it gets into some kind of faulty circuit and says, hey, if we eat something, it can't actually be that dangerous. That may stop your body from releasing stress hormones on and on. And that brings us to tip number three: breathing exercises. One of the core reasons why we humans experience this feeling of derealization in certain situations is simply because hyperventilation is chronic and latent. This means that we unknowingly breathe too fast for too long. The problem that arises here is the vasoconstriction of the brain vessels, which can be accompanied by a slight oxygen deficiency. This causes the strange diffuse feeling as if you were standing half a centimeter next to yourself, or you are not completely inside yourself, or you just have this feeling that the environment is not quite real anymore. Here you should try a breathing exercise that can help you slow down your breathing frequency in a controlled way. But keep in mind, meditation or breathing exercises alone will not help to get rid of your problem in the long run. So let's move on to tip number four. Often, symptoms of derealization or vertigo are due to a lavish panic disorder, meaning the symptoms of anxiety and panic don't necessarily co-occur. For us, this means we should put an eye on the area of panic disorder as well and take care of it accordingly. What is our body actually trying to tell us? In most cases of a panic disorder, our body doesn't want to tell us anything, but we can start interpreting our body's signals reasonably. So what your body is expressing is not necessarily, hey, do this or that in the future, but please don't keep doing what you are doing and what you've done so far. Unfortunately, your body is not capable of giving you a clear forwarded guidance, can only react retrospectively and signal, please don't continue like this. So it's up to us to learn how to identify when we are working against our inner needs. So keep in mind, try to identify your inner needs. try to find ways to satisfy your inner needs. And if you notice that you can't meet your inner needs, you will, however, be able to reprogram your inner need level over time to be able to meet it again. And that brings us to tip number 5. A long-term change is the result of reprogrammed patterns in your mind. Our mind works in programmed patterns and does not believe in what is right, but it believes in what we have heard or experienced the most. Your symptoms most likely don't emerge from a disease. A disease is only a term to describe symptoms. Your symptoms most likely express your long-acquired thinking patterns, and therefore it is important in the long run that you learn to change your thinking patterns and accordingly program new patterns over time. It is best to find a professional person to help you with this, because for long-term success, it's always good to have someone to self-reflect with. Do write me in the comments if you have ever experienced these feelings of derealization or even depersonalization. Maybe you tried other things that helped you in these situations that you would like to share.